Here we are at Milford's very own Charles's Island. There's a lot of history on this island. It's been known as Cursed Thrice Island or Thrice Cursed Island, I don't remember. And there's also a lot of talk that Captain Kidd actually buried a treasure here on his way to Boston, where he was sent back to England and killed. The first thing I noticed were mussels when I got down to the bottom. Great thing about mussels is good visibility. Mussels are filter feeders, so they filter out all the yuck out of the water and they make it nice and clean, as you can see here. Just want to make sure the anchor's in nice and good. It's not even moving, so that's a good sign. First, we come across a sea star and a spider crab. And another sea star. And sea stars are the only animals that can open up a clam. And then there's this guy who's apparently had too much coffee this morning, or hasn't gone to the gym yet, or is apparently the fierce protector of Captain Kidd's treasure.
What in God's name did we just watch? Welcome to Milford Radio. With you as always, you have Mark Kaminsky and Dan Zeke here. We have a night off from Chris Heiza. He apparently has some bloody eyes or something like that, Zeke.
Yeah, he needs two patches on his eyes tonight.
Yeah, that's right. The video that you just watched is from the Squalus Marine Divers. It's on YouTube. It's a very cool video. It's, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes long or something like that. But basically, in 2013, these guys did a dive around Charles Island, and they just check out all the marine life, and it's very cool. So in a little bit, I'll or maybe after the show, I'll post a video to that YouTube video. I would say check it out. It's kind of cool going through YouTube and just searching for Milford, Connecticut. You get some really unique videos. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you learn some interesting facts, like the sea star is the only animal that can open up a clam.
Right. I never knew that. We were just talking about it before the show that we could use rocks and we could do it, or the clam opener thing. And then seagulls take them like 50 yards in the air and try to drop them onto the parking lot at Walnut Beach.
Yeah, and the myth is Captain Kidd's treasure still out there. You don't know.
Yeah, right. I bet it is.
There was a group, I think, in the late 90s that wanted to go out there and dig, and they couldn't get the permits. The city of Milford didn't allow them to go out there. So that myth may be there forever and ever.
That's because Ben's out there probably every weekend with a shovel trying to find that. See, last week we had the Pizza Gavones on the show.
Oh man,
those were some entertaining guys. You could check them out on Facebook as well. They're getting on that Facebook page they have. They were at 3,000 members when they came on in only, I don't know, he said like 3 weeks or something like that.
Right.
I think they've already doubled. I think they've doubled or something. They're getting like over 100 people a day coming onto that thing, and it's all about pizza, New Haven style pizza, a beef.
Yeah. There's a passion for pizza in this area. I mean, it's like everyone has their own opinion. It's kind of like beer, actually, craft beer. It's like, oh, I like hoppy, I like stouts. Right? In the pizza world, it's modern, it's Sally's, it's Pepe's. Oh no, you're missing the boat. Hey,
Yeah,
I
agree.
That was awesome. I can't wait to do another show with them, and it should be a good time.
We'll definitely have them back, and maybe they'll have us on their show. A Polak. What are you, German?
Yeah, German, Dutch.
Yeah,
not pizza, not a pizza background. That's for sure.
That's right.
Meat and potatoes.
Yeah, exactly. They were a great group, and we're really excited to have them on the show, and we will definitely have them back on. Pizza, like you just said, pizza and beer are one of those topics that people disagree. Like, hey, my favorite's Pepe's and yours favorites is Sally's and mine is Modern, whatever. But people don't get too upset. Like, same with beer. I like hoppy beer. You don't like hoppy beer, sours, all that kind of stuff. But with the whole politics thing and everything that's been going on around the world lately, people have just been getting more angry about other people's thoughts as opposed to just respecting, okay, that's your opinion. That's cool. You like this and I like that. But it's, the world today is getting a little crazy.
Yeah, it's a little out of control. I mean, it's kind of like cabin fever. It's like, even though, we've been able to go out with the latest spikes and everything. And I don't know if you saw, but now Connecticut has a list of 22 states that if they come into the state, they have to 14-day quarantine. So, I mean, we're protecting Connecticut, but, everyone is going crazy. It's just like, well, when is this going to happen?
You're right. And I think
unfortunately.
Absolutely. I think Governor Lamont announced today that at Bradley, they're setting up a place, like if you fly in from, let's say, one of the hot spots like Florida, it doesn't have to be all 22 states, but a certain area where, the positive rate has been going high, that they have like a station where you have to get tested.
Wow.
Yeah, because, I mean, how are you really going to regulate someone coming in from, say, Florida, and they are positive because they were, hanging out with 17,000 people on a beach? How are you going to make them quarantine? This is America.
Really and the way our government is set, I mean, like if you go anywhere else in the world, if you fly in, or even if you go over the border on a street or whatever, the police are there to automatically quarantine you. There's government quarantine facilities where when you fly in, you're set in there for 14 days before you're even allowed to go about your business in that area. So, but we, obviously in the United States, that's against your constitutional rights, so you can't do that. But that's, you really can. It's kind of like the honor system,
Yeah, right. It's, I would say the large majority of Americans in general are very honorable, but it's the small percentage that kind of ruin it for the rest in every, topic. But with that being said, New York, we talked about it last week, the amount of, or maybe it was the show before, I don't remember, that we were like in the top 12 of people moving in. And I'm talking like our area of Connecticut. We had, in my neighborhood alone, we had 3 houses for sale. They all sold within a week. My neighbor directly next to me, he sold in less than 24 hours. And a good percentage of those people were from New York. He showed his house to over 30 people in one weekend without a real estate agent.
Oh my God.
And I'm right there, so I could see people coming in and out. And I would say just under half of those people had New York license plates.
Wow.
Crazy. They're coming in.
I was late to the game. I actually called on your neighbor's house and I was late.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
They were like,
they're like, oh, it's sold already. I was like, oh man.
Oh, Zeke man living next to me? That would have been awesome. Oh my God! Sports is back. I mean, my little guy, Caden, his birthday. Actually, I should be looking at the chat. I didn't even look at the chat. What are we doing here? I had to move my light. All sorts of stuff. With sport. So my little guy, Caden, and happy birthday to Caden. He just turned 12 last week. He plays lacrosse. So Milford Lacrosse came back with a clinic. So they're not doing a league or anything like that. They're limiting players, and they're going to, segment certain kids in certain areas, social distancing, the whole thing. But men's softball in Milford, which Milford has one of the largest men's, actually just softball in general, in the area. It started last night. We started last night, and we happened to be the first game of this. Oh, you played? We played. I played last night, and we got smoked. We got 10 runs, 10 runs in like 4 innings.
Really?
Oh yeah, we played they had full, they look like the New York Yankees taking the field, and we're just degenerates going out there. But but it was great to kind of hang out with the guys for it should have been like an hour and a half, but it was probably like 45 minutes. But it was great. So softball's back in Milford, and Little League back, and hockey's playing, and so it is great to. Hoops by the Harbor, which is a big kids event, basketball, is starting next week. So there's a lot of things that are coming up that I'm really excited. And it's good to see, it might not last, but it is nice to see that, our community is kind of trying its hardest to kind of get things back to normal, if there is a normal.
Yeah. And, it's the middle of July already, believe it or not. I mean, this year has kind of flown by, but, to get these kids and get people outside for the remainder of the summer is key. Especially, with the fall coming up, which gets into our guests tonight. But, with the kids going back to school, depending what the plan is, and, parents and adults trying to get back to work and get into a regular schedule. Right now, getting people outside of their houses in an active way is very important.
It is. There's been a lot of things. Well, speaking of things getting back to normal, one thing that I saw that closed, and I'm really sad that I don't want to say a lot, because a lot of restaurants seem to have at least got past this, and I don't know if they're going to last forever, because this was a huge financial hit to a lot of the local restaurants. But Hooters has officially closed for good.
Yeah,
I mean, their grass is above the head, but I don't know. I really don't know one Milford person that I'm friends with that has visited Hooters in the last decade.
No, I mean, I went there for business purposes, but I never, business purposes, but that's about it.
Right.
It was there. It had its time. I think, the Hooters era in general is pretty much done, but we'll see what goes in there. It's a nice piece of property. It's right near the highway. It's a
great piece of property.
Yeah, it should be a great Milford addition to whoever. If they decide to put a restaurant in there, it would be a great addition. So
it would, and I think they
local
building hotels like right next door. They knocked down Howard Johnson's and they're putting up another hotel. I don't know if they just stopped construction or whatever it may be, but nothing has advanced recently. But you got a hotel there, maybe a restaurant will work.
Yeah, you drive by, you always wonder like when they take buildings down, but apparently elevator shafts are the last thing to go, because there's that one elevator that's just kind of just been there forever. You're like, man, take it down.
That's right. Hey, Caden says Marky, he does it every week. Happy birthday, CJ. Happy birthday, bud. So one last thing, we're going to get to our guest in a minute, because I know we have some good questions for our guest tonight, which is Dr. Cutaia. And so Zeke, that the Washington Redskins, they finally agreed to change their name, right? With all the social injustice going on and things like that. Mm-hmm. So there's kind of two things on that. Number one, this guy, Dan Snyder, the owner of it, he's always been in the news for different things, and he's controversial, I guess, a little bit. And he was never planning on changing the name. But what turned his attention was Nike and Amazon completely stopped selling their apparel.
Really? Is that what it was?
I don't know if that was the final. I'm sure that was the final straw. But when they saw sales going to zero, with no live sports going on, no TV money coming in right now, went to zero. He said, "Okay, I'll do it." But then, and I found this article, and I thought it was kind of funny. There's this guy, a Virginia guy. He's a realtor in Virginia, and I'm reading an article right now from CBS News. Martin McCauley. What he did was he found out that, and this was recent, like literally within the last month, he found out that the Redskins were thinking about changing the name, and then they leaked names that they were thinking about. So this dude, he goes out and he trademarked the Washington Red Tails, the Washington Monuments, the Washington Red Wolves, the Washington American, and the Washington Veterans. He trademarked all of the names. So now the Redskins have to go back and kind of either buy the trademark from him. So this guy's going to make a significant amount of money, or the Redskins are going to say, "Beat it, we're just going to come up with a random name that we didn't."
Sure, of course,
yet.
Right?
But, in the article, it does say that this guy emailed the NFL and the Redskins and said, "Hey guys, I'm going to do this, but I'm opening up to you guys could trademark it first. I'm opening it up to you guys." No one responded to him, so that day he went out and he put the trademark.
Done.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's it's a free country. So
yeah, it's crazy. It's like and you and I are both huge Yankee fans, right? And someone was saying, "Oh, well, the term Yankees kind of falls into the same category as Redskins." And could you imagine if the New York Yankees ever had to change their name?
No, I don't know if I could be a fan.
What? Who knows? You know.
That would upset me. But
Oh yeah, big time.
I don't know. So let's get to our guest tonight. She is probably the hardest working, busiest person in the entire city right now. Let's pull her up on the screen. Dr. Cutaia, thanks for joining us.
Everybody. How
are
you doing?
you?
Great. How are you guys? Thanks for inviting me back. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We're always excited to have you on the show. And, we were talking pre-show about how busy you are and things. I can't even, I wouldn't want to. I don't have a doctor before my name, so I couldn't do it. But even if I could, I would not want your job right now. You have to be exhausted.
There's a lot going on in Milford Public Schools right now, Mark. You know that personally.
I do.
Yeah, there's a lot being thrown at us, and we're working as hard as we can to make all the right decisions for our young people. But hey, let's start with the celebration, though, okay? Absolutely. Did you guys know that we had 11 graduation ceremonies last week?
Wow!
I heard about them.
That's amazing.
So shout out to all of our seniors. Congratulations, class of 2020. Yeah, woo! So based on the governor's orders, we waited it out enough to be able to hold live in-person graduation ceremonies in a mini version. But we are proud to say that Milford Public Schools seniors walked the football field to grab a diploma. So a huge shout out to people who made that happen. Our administrators, our staff, custodians, security people, our directors, safety, facilities guys. There are lots of hands on deck. Our Milford Police Department, the fire, emergency folks, everybody pitched in to make it a memorable end of a very difficult senior year. So I just wanted to take a moment of privilege to thank everybody and congratulate our class of 2020.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. That gives me chills, actually, to know that happened,
Yeah.
It's a special moment. You always remember that, walking to get your diploma,
This year is memorable enough, for a lot of negative reasons that people are going to remember this year forever. But to be that class that kind of did it, and Milford did a great job with it. And you guys actually battled rain. One of our friends, their son was graduate. I think it was 6 o'clock on one of the times, and one of the wives is friends with Sarah, my wife, and she texted me. She said, "Can you believe it? Our segment of the graduation is going to get rained out, but you guys dealt with it, and it still went on. We
ran right behind the clouds and the thunder and the lightning, and we were gonna have that ceremony, Mark. We were determined. Bring your umbrella, folks. We had it.
That's right.
Get her done.
I know there's other stuff on people's mind, though, and that's obviously. What are we doing for vacation? Oh no, there is no vacation this summer. Wait.
Right. So I say we jump right into it. I mean, obviously the big question is, some towns and cities have been announcing the plan. I'm not sure when Milford is releasing the plan, but if you have any insight that you could share with the families, it would be appreciated.
Yeah, I'll give you what we have to date. I'll preface everything by saying that information is changing every day. So what I even shared with the Board of Education last night, I have more information today. So day by day, we're developing plans, but we're also getting some different information from the state, as you can imagine. So I will say that what we have is due to the state by July 24th in more of a high-level generic format. I hope to have something for our community by the beginning of August, so that I know families took a survey last week, and people were a little nervous about making commitments. That was just a sort of an understanding of where people thinking. And then next month, with the plan fully transparent to our community, we're going to ask families to make a commitment to returning or not returning. So I just want to kind of state that from the beginning. So I know that we have a responsibility to share with everybody what the plan is. So by the beginning of August, I anticipate having that fully published.
Which is a couple weeks.
Yeah, and there's plenty of time. So the governor published his guidance. Actually, the State Department of Education published their guidance on June 29th with a due date of July 24th. So that gives us about 3.5 weeks to develop something. I will go on record to say that we will develop a plan with the primary goal of keeping everybody safe, first and foremost. I know, Zeke, you were talking about, let's get back to work. We got to jumpstart the economy, sort of that concept. And listen, as an instructional leader, I want to engage in educational recovery as much as economic recovery. So I know those two go hand in glove, but we can't do that unless it's safe to go back. And so right now our health numbers are good. We're working with our health department. We've got the clearance to get back to school. So it's our responsibility to make sure we have the proper protocols and procedures to make sure that when kids get on a bus, it's safe. When they get into a school, walk down the hallway, use the restroom, go to recess, that we have everything spelled out so that I believe that when we bring back 5,700 students to 14 buildings and 1,400 employees, by the way, that we are number one, safe. That is our first priority. And my commitment to the city of Milford is that I won't allow that to happen unless I believe that we have the right protocols in place to make that happen. So I know people are really nervous. It's really unsettling time right now, and I want to recognize that. But we are working together to put the right plans in place. We have a task force that's been working for the last month, and now that we have actually guidance from the state, we can get some plans in place. We've invited teachers to the table to help us with that this week. I'm holding a parent advisory team tomorrow, a community advisory team. We're going to meet on a weekly basis, and we're going to roll out some plan ideas, get feedback so that we can really understand how all the ideas will impact various stakeholders. So there are key pieces in the plan that I know people are wrestling with already. And I think you guys are talking about politics and everyone having a different opinion. Well, surprise, there are people who have a different opinion about getting back to school. Right. We know that. But we also are held to some of the guidance that the governor is putting out. So for example, Governor Lamont announced that every child will come back to school full-time in the fall, 5 days a week. That is an order. We're going to open our doors and make them safe to come back. Now, within that, there is some allowance for parents who want to engage in distance learning while we have our doors open. So we're actually creating a dual system so that families who choose to send their students, their children to school will be ready. And parents who want their children to continue to engage in distance learning will be ready. So we're developing that system so that all families are comfortable with re-entering the educational system at their level. So that's where we're starting.
Yeah, it's interesting, and like I said at the beginning, I would not want to be in your shoes right now and then going into that conversation of politics, every decision that not just you, but anyone in a leadership role makes, you potentially could be angering 50% of the people, and the other 50% are perfectly happy. And now it comes down to logistics, right? So, we saw some plans from Glastonbury, Hamden. I think we had some information from Norwalk, and it sounds like it's some of the towns are saying the same thing. Like, we expect the kids to come in, but we have to have these plans. And that's where I get confused. Like, if you have a classroom of, call it 20 kids, and I know we're probably going to have to shrink that down during COVID, but if half of them show up and then half are at home, how does that teacher even teach like this, like we're online, and then also teach a class? I don't know how that even looks.
So that's where we have to get really creative, and we're hoping that we can come up with some solutions that work for students and staff, right? So you talk about a different paradigm of education now, where we used to have 23 kids in front of us and they were there all day, and now we have to get creative around. So are there opportunities for live streaming or pre-recorded? There is a conversation of synchronous and asynchronous learning. Does it always have to be online? And I don't know about you guys, but it gets tiring to be on a computer all day learning. We have had those experiences all spring. So we also have to question the stamina of our young people on being able to engage digitally when half of your class is present and the other half is going to be online. So a little bit of this also depends on the ruling on social distancing. So are we going to social distance 6 feet or 3 feet or somewhere in between? I think there's been a lot of talk around how many students can we get inside of a physical space, inside of a classroom. And so CDC guidelines came out and ruled 6 feet. The American Academy of Pediatrics ruled 3 feet. And the guidance we received from the state says 6 feet where possible or feasible. So we have this window of 3 to 6 feet, but that makes an incredible difference on number of students in a room.
Right.
So 3 feet, I can get almost my class average size of 18 to 20. 6 feet, I'm shrinking at 10 to 12.
Wow.
So now let's start doing some simple math, right? You guys are smart. If I had 20, okay. So let's just do math together. If we had 20 kids in a room and I can only put 10, now I need twice the number of spaces and twice the number of workforce. So I think one of your questions to me, guys, was, are we going to need more budget?
Right.
What were you saying about Captain Kidd's Treasure? Is it available? Can we go dive?
Ask Ben. I guarantee you it's at his house.
Someone's already out there, right?
Yeah. And that was one of my questions, because I think a lot of people have been talking about, okay, if the kids go back, they're going to shrink the school, the class sizes. So, if you're going from 20 to 10, that's in half. Do you need double the amount of teachers? And do we have the real estate, meaning the classrooms, to separate these kids into the different classes? It's that was one of my questions. So the budget naturally does have to come up, right?
Yeah, it sure does. And I'll tell you that we're getting CARES money through some special funding, but it's so little that it doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of the additional cost. So yes, there will be additional workforce needs. We are going to use everybody in a school system that has a certification, and we still have to follow certification laws. We'll likely be looking at different roles next year. So if you have a teaching certificate, we may need to use you in a different way because we have so many students that we have to spread out across the system. Physical plant wise, I think we're going to be okay. We did a series of meetings today we conducted, and it looks like we have, now mind you, we have to use every open space. So you remember the cafeteria everybody marched down to, had their 25 minutes of fun lunch. Well, that's no longer allowed. So the cafeteria can't be used for large groups of students to eat lunch. You have to cohort, is the language that's being used by the state, which means keep the same groups of kids together throughout the day. So the cafeteria will likely become teaching space or office space for teachers who are being displaced from their classroom. Kids can't go to art anymore. The art teacher has to go to them. Music has to come to the kids. Physical education has to look different. We'll likely have to make some changes to our curriculum. Our library will likely become teaching space. So when you start looking at every space in the building, it looks like we'll have the real estate to pull it off. But I'll tell you, it'll be a shock. So this is a little worry I have. It's going to be a shocker for our students to come back to school because it's not going to look like what we left.
Cool. Right.
It's going to look like what we tried to move away from, actually. And I know you guys are just way too young to remember this, right? Where the desks were in rows and the teachers talked in the front, and it looked like it did back in 1920. Well, Milford Public Schools have moved away from that model. But our kids are going to be going back to desks and rows. And we're not going to have a cozy reading corner anymore. That's not allowed. Everybody come down to the rug and let's have morning circle. We can't do that. So the physical layout of classrooms will look so different that we are working on transition plans for kids and staff and student and parents so that it won't be, as shocking when we come back. So we're thinking about orientation videos that will get pushed out, done by school. So if your child goes to Mathewson, there'll be a customized video that will introduce you to what school looks like and how it's gonna function next year. We're trying to think of everything that will ease our staff and students and families back in the school, make them feel as comfortable and as safe as possible.
That makes a lot of sense. I heard you use the word cohort, and that was a word that I learned. Well, I know what a cohort is, but during one of the governors, when he had, I apologize, I guess it would be your boss, the education guy in Hartford.
Commissioner of Education. Yeah.
Yes, he was awesome. By the way, he seemed really intelligent.
Yep.
He handled all of the interview very well, and he was mentioning, because the question was, a child comes into school. Let's say it's, I don't know, make up a grade, ninth grade, and a kid or multiple kids in the ninth grade have test positive. Does that shut down the whole high school? And then he was explaining the cohort situation, that it would take that grade and send them home, and the rest of the school could operate.
Right. So that's the concept behind cohorting, is to diminish the amount of risk that is available to others, right? So if you keep a group of students together and just move them about their day together and limit contact to others, then if there is an identified case in that cohort, then you just handle that cohort, and the rest of the school, particularly those that have not been exposed or in contact with that cohort, can continue on with business as usual.
Yeah.
So we'll need some procedures in place, and we're working hand in hand with our health department around what happens when there's an identified case. How long will they need to stay out? What are the protocols on returning? So there's a lot of those nuances that we'll communicate to our community in August.
Well, I
would assume like masks are going to be mandatory for people coming back. I'm asking.
I would assume that bear, Dan. Yeah, go ahead. Yes. So it is within the guidance from the state that masks are required. Now, there's a lot of feelings about this, right? Let's go ahead and call it out. There are people who believe in the mask, don't believe in the mask. People who believe that their child can wear it all day and they should, and people who don't think that children can get through the day. And honestly, there are adults who can't handle the mask. I imagine some 5, 6, 10-year-olds, right?
Right.
So right now within the guidance, it is required that students wear masks throughout the day unless there is a medical or special needs reason for that to occur. Again, we'll work with the health department around allowances on that. We are planning things I never thought we'd plan before: mask breaks throughout the day.
Wow.
Breaks, get up and move breaks, because you're in rows and there isn't, go sit in the comfy corner to read. Most of your tasks will occur at your desk. So we are looking for developing new routines, right? It's almost like developing a whole new world of business. So we're developing new routines for how students can stay well throughout the day. So think about it. If you've been used to walking about, getting about, and saying, teacher, I need to use the restroom, grab the pass, go. Well, now we have to create a new routine. How can a student stay physically mindful? Do we need to build in stretch breaks, mindfulness breaks, bathroom breaks, mask breaks, get up and clear mind breaks? So we are looking at the social emotional lens with this as well. So it's not just about getting in and getting the math right now. We know that there's a transition that involves social emotional needs that we can't ignore. And I think Milford is well positioned for that because of our work on relationships through the Search Institute, which we've done for the last 2 years. So I think we're well positioned to focus on how do we more mindfully transition kids back.
And that's the social stuff that you were just mentioning. In my mind, is humongous as far as so one thing that I did see, I saw some towns or cities around, they're planning on the elementary kids to go back to school, and then high school might be virtual. And I'm not saying that that's going on in Milford, that I've seen that report elsewhere, but it seems like, to me at least, high school, I remember as being, that's where you kind of turn into a young adult and you start learning how to deal with bullies and girls, and all these types of things could potentially be eliminated.
So if there's anything we know for a fact is that learning is social, right? And somewhere along your learning journey in school, it becomes much more social than academic sometimes, right? I think that's what you're saying in high school. So while I understand the need to potentially go to virtual for secondary, I think there would be so many consequences to the learning process because we're cutting young people off from their social circle. And if there's any feedback in the negative realm that I heard from our spring work, it was, and I don't know how we could have fixed this, and I don't think people meant it as a criticism, but kids were cut off from their circles of friendship. They couldn't go outside and play. You couldn't set up play dates for your kids. You couldn't go to the playground, and you most certainly could not go to school and see your friends and engage in, at the elementary, do community circle, right? And that's where you share your feelings and how the day is going and how you can problem solve. And so what distance learning did for us to maintain academics, it certainly did not fulfill us socially or emotionally, right? Most certainly didn't. And I'm worried, Mark, if I'm going to agree with you, if we can't bring kids back, I am worried about their social development. But primary to all of this is their physical wellness and
health. Healthy. Right. Yeah, absolutely. I have one more question. I probably have a million more, and I'm sure if I read the comments right now, I would have even more questions from people. But what about special education? And that is something, that is, I don't know. It might not be a virtual.
It's tricky in its own realm. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe not as much of a virtual learning situation, but how does that fit into the plan?
So here's just the bottom line challenge, right? So distance learning is very difficult to use to meet some very special needs of young people. That it's just so difficult to engage in occupational and physical therapy online. Speech languages. I mean, there are some disabilities where a screen does not allow for highest engagement of students. Let's just put it that way, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But we also know that we have to keep young people and staff physically safe. So to the extent possible, we'll make individual plans for students with special needs to come back. So, and that's the nature of a child with a disability. Take a look at what they can do and build a plan so that they can continue to grow based on what their needs are. That does not change in a Restart 2021 in Milford Public Schools. We will still hold to the commitment that we'll take a look at the individual needs of students and build a plan around them so that they can safely come back. Yes, there will be challenges. And in many cases, it may not be the same. Like, just think about it. There's nothing replacing in-person live teaching.
Right.
I think we've learned that lesson in the nation. While there have been so many virtual experiences, you could take a class online. You can earn a doctorate online, right? But
sure.
Learn the hard way is that we will never be able to replace teachers. Thank God,
totally
right?
Agree. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Never be able to replace the person face-to-face interaction.
Right. Yeah. This whole conversation is, and it's not because of you, Dr. Cutaia, but it's making me sad. Like, our kids are going back to a completely different world, not created by any of us. This pandemic it's just unbelievable. But we talked about budgets, and really quickly, going back to that topic, how about the schools themselves? Like some schools have air conditioning, some don't. Air circulation. I'm sure that has to be part of some of the budgetary increases that have to happen, right?
Right. So there are some guidelines actually that came out on HVAC and the environment that we're bringing kids back into. So we're committed to running our HVAC systems 24/7. We also are committed, because we have to and feel responsibility to add custodial staff to all of our facilities to keep the cleaning going on well beyond our students leaving. So every touch point will be, triple, quadruple cleaned. Our classrooms will have detailed cleaning as opposed to potentially so our cleaning and environmental systems will be ramped up. So yes, that has a budget impact as well.
Yeah, that's what I assumed. So are there any other, do you want to drop like a quick nugget or another sneak peek on us before we let you go? We've taken up quite a bit of your time.
No, I think that while it is sad, Mark, I think it's going to be a good day when we can all come back, walk through our school doors, and be a school community together in 14 of our buildings. So I want to end this off on a positive, right? So while it will be different, we'll be together. And I think that's the important message here, that we'll create systems to make it a top-notch safe for everybody. And we just need to focus on coming back safely so that we can be a school community. So that's a priority for us. And I think that's the positive. Coming back to school is going to be a good thing for us. And it'll be done in a safe way for all.
Totally agree. We appreciate your time. You have the toughest job in Milford right now. And especially, it's going to get harder and harder as we get closer to the first day of school.
So can I come back and give you guys an update later in the summer?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Listen, do me a favor. Don't put me after the pizza gobones. Like, how did that?
They were very good.
You followed them up perfectly, though. You know, you did a great job.
You did. Thank you, Dr. Cutaia.
Do you have any pizza words for us?
No, I'm not doing that in public. No. I'm smarter than that.
There you go. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you before the school opens.
All right. Would love that. Take care.
All right.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Dr. Anna Cutaia. Zeke.
Woo!
Wow. That was a lot of information.
Yeah. I got to tell you, we had Ben on, a couple of times already. And, we've brought up a lot of situations, a lot of questions with him, about what's going on. And just like he said, there's no real turnkey answer to anything, but seeing, we've had the police, we'd have everyone on, but the one main thing is everyone in Milford thinks things through and they're ready to tackle any situation. And we've had great professionals, Dr. Cutaia, Ben, everybody that's been on the show has shown their resilience towards our situation right now. And, I may not have my own children in the school system, but I do have nephews and nieces. Like my nephew, Eric, is going to be in kindergarten this year. Elise is going into, I believe, 3rd grade. And, wow. To know and see that their safety is number one is so reassuring. And the fact that they're doing so much work, it gives the families that motivation to do that much work also.
I totally agree with you. And the big factor of what you just said is the fact that none of us, I don't care what job you have, you can be the lowest level employee in a position, or you could be, CEO. None of us have dealt with what we're dealing with right now. So
no, not at all.
And I know quite a few people around that are like, schools have to open because we got to get back to work. And that is so valid. But at the same time, sit in the shoes of Dr. Cutaia and say, okay, I have to deal with, I can't even remember what she said. I think it was over 5,000 students, 14 buildings, staff.
5,700.
And I'm dead serious when I said to her multiple times, I would never want to be in your shoes, especially during this time. Yeah,
it's pretty amazing. I mean, it's I don't even know what to say,
Yeah, no, there's nothing to say. It's nuts. So we thank Dr. Cutaia, and we'll absolutely have her back. Maybe she can announce the decision right here. I don't know. Did you lean one way or the other, which way she was going to go? It sounded like when she first started, it sounded like we're going virtual. Like everything's about safety and we don't want, people. But at the same time, then she said the governor basically mandated schools are open
5 days a week. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, same thing. I mean, as it comes to families being comfortable sending their kids back. I mean, she said there's going to be a survey going out, right? Will you come back and commit or not? It's just, I mean, it's safety.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember being at Live Oaks. You went to Live Oaks, and I remember just sitting in there miserable when it's hot, and I couldn't imagine wearing a mask in that situation either.
Right.
I think if they do go back, obviously wearing a mask, being safe is very, very important, but it's got to be comfortable in those rooms too, especially September when it's hot.
Right. And you have a kindergartner who's wearing a mask. I don't know any kindergartner that would be able to wear a face covering for 6 hours or whatever it
is. No way.
Or even a high school kid who's like, screw this thing,
Yeah.
It's hard. I wear it for 10 minutes in the store and I want to rip it off my face.
Yeah. I mean, I worked in the medical field for, I don't know, like 8 or 9 years, and I had to wear a mask every single day, all day. And let me tell you, it never got easy. It was always... It did save my life a few times, I gotta tell you, but
I'm sure.
It's not comfortable. It's not something that you look forward to.
No, yeah, it's not. But the business to be in right now is selling masks.
Yeah, right, or sanitizer.
Yeah, absolutely. So a positive thing: the Milford Chamber of Commerce has come out with they're calling it the Best of Milford, and they have the bestofmilford.com. You can go there. And it's a celebration of the best that Milford has to offer in arts, entertainment, food, dining, shopping, health, home and garden, service industries. Milford Living and the Milford Chamber of Commerce will be accepting registrations in so many different categories, and it ends tomorrow. So
Whoa.
I'm sure they might extend it a little bit, but if you want to get a vote in, go to bestofmilford.com and cast your vote for your favorite business. And whatever your favorite business is, go in there. They're going to give away awards. There's going to be a whole ceremony, and it'll be pretty cool to see, your favorite restaurant or whatever it may be win the Best of Milford award. So
years ago. I mean, I'm talking 20 years ago, at least. Pat Austin and I, in the summer, once the lifeguards were off the beach full time, we would drive around the city of Milford rec van, going to the fields, doing all kinds of stuff. And we had a running list of the Best of Milford. And it was like the best place to get gas. They have the fastest pumps. You can get $40 worth of gas in 2 minutes. The best bacon, egg, and cheese.
Right. Yeah. And that's actually they don't have those those in this, but that would be a great website.
Yeah.
Best pizza or best bacon, egg, and cheese. I like.
So we figured, and this is going back, it no longer exists, but the best breakfast sandwich in Milford at the time was the sausage, egg, and cheese on a Portuguese roll from Stoplight Deli. You remember Stoplight Deli?
Stoplight Deli, yeah, I do.
Oh man, it just melted all together. Oh, it was so good.
That is awesome. We should start that up. Maybe if anyone's still listening to the show, and I do see the numbers, so I know people are listening, go to bestofmilford.com and put us in as the best radio show, because we're the only. I don't even know. We're not even a radio show. We're a video. I don't know what it is, but us in.
We've evolved with time. It used to be radio. We used to be on the air, and but now.
Do you remember how we did that?
Of course.
We used to broadcast at Cafe Atlantique every, I think it was Wednesday. This is going back 10 years, and we physically ran a line from inside the cafe all the way down the basement, into the electrical panel, and into a phone jack. And that line was dedicated to us. So when we went live from, say, 8 to 9 o'clock on a Wednesday night at Cafe Atlantique, if you called them, the phone line was busy because we were on it. Oh, my God. It was so funny. But, and thank you for Cafe Atlantique on that. And we used to also, Tina, the owner of Cafe, would also save all of her ass ends of wine, all the wine that only had this much left.
That was the best.
And put it all together, and then that would be our little snack during the show.
Yeah, hey, you can't pour a full glass, but Mark likes this one.
Right. I can't sell this as a glass, so the radio guys will take it, and we did. Also, Zeke, I don't know, you probably haven't done this. This is something that I want to do because I don't remember when they started this, but the Spirits of Milford, the ghost walks. Have you ever done that?
No, I haven't. I actually, you know where I did do it? I did it up in Mystic, Connecticut, and there's a lady up there, Seaside Shadows, and I actually organized a beer crawl ghost story walk up there. So we had like 4 or 5 different accounts. You got a beer to each one, and along the way, she told the story of the story of Mystic, which is pretty haunted. Yeah. I didn't know they had them in Milford, but that's awesome.
They have had it, and then it stopped with COVID. And actually, I want to say last fall, my family almost did it. And then I think one of my kids was like, I'm not going on a ghost walk. We should have just called it like a spirit walk or something. They might have thought that, Dad was just going to have bourbons along the way. But but they just reopened. Actually, they're just reopening. July 24th, 25th, they're opening back up. You can check them out at spiritsofmilford.com. This is something I've wanted to do. Like I said, it's $18 a person, and it's a lantern lit tour throughout downtown Milford. It's about 1.5 miles. You go to the cemetery, you go to the old home, the old houses of Milford, and they tell you all of the ghost stories of Milford. It's pretty cool.
The Clark House has to be on the list somewhere.
Has to be on it. So
that house was built in 1630 something.
And you and I used to go there every Christmas.
Yeah, that was fun.
Party. Yeah. A lot of it is kind of creepy in there. I know Chuck grew up there, but the statues moving and ghosts and the candles just going out randomly. Yeah. But it might have been because there was no insulation because it's so old. But I went by there the other day, and it looks great. The art's taken care of. Everything looks really nice. So I'm happy of that. So we're going to actually be logging off in just a second, but last week we kicked back and we did a, kind of the dumb stories or the weird news of the country. And last week I'm pretty sure it was in Florida. It seems like every year it's in Florida because that's where the strangest people seem to be. But this story was kind of entertaining. I got to get the video ready, which I have right here. So, let's see. Haunting. So there's a guy, and this just happened the other day. So just picture this. You're at the beach, you're in Florida. And one of the main reasons why some people are thinking that the Florida COVID cases are going up is because so many people, like literally thousands of people are going to beaches and not social distancing and getting COVID and all this kind of stuff. So this guy, he's an attorney in Florida. And what he does is he dresses as the Grim Reaper. And he just walks the beaches. Like there's a group of like 100 young people hanging out at the beach, enjoying themselves, having drinks. And this guy dresses the Green Reaper with a scythe and a mask and a robe. He literally just wanders the Florida beaches, checking out the big crowds. And here's a small interview of him, which is pretty hilarious.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm here today to try to make a point that I think it's premature that we open our beaches. I'm a huge proponent of public beaches, and I've been fighting for that for years, but I think that the danger of bringing all the people here to our area and spreading the virus, and I think it's going to prolong the recovery we have, and I think that we should take better measures. Drawing people from all over the world to our beautiful beaches, it's too soon, and it's not appropriate.
Thank you, Daniel. Now, Daniel is going to be beginning his protest right now, and he's going to be at a bunch of other Walton County beaches throughout the day. We're going to have his full story and how people are reacting later tonight on News 13.
Whoa!
The funniest part, there's a lot of funny things about that. Is first of all that he does that. He's a grown adult and does that. But when the woman comes back on and she's like, "Hey, yeah, thank you for he's here in the wall," he stands right behind her, like this is her talking, and he's like,
"Yeah."
He just got his face there. It's terrible.
Oh my God, the things people come up with,
Yeah. There's a lot of strange people out there. But anyway, Zeke, it was a good show. Dr.
Yeah, it was
Cutaia,
great.
I'd like to thank Dr. Cutaia for joining us tonight. She will definitely be back on the show as she presents what Milford is going to do. I know it is. So my little, not that anyone cares about my message, but my message would be to the parents out there, and me being one of them, is we have to be patient, because I have a feeling in most of the cities and towns that have announced things, it might change 15 times. If all of a sudden we get a spike, or there's just way too much time and information that has to come out before they make a decision, and we just have to be patient. I didn't bring it up to Dr. Cutaia, or I basically did, but a lot of parents, their work depends on the kids going back to school. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard for, let's say it's mom and dad and both are doctors. They have to go to work. They're essential workers.
Yeah.
What are you doing with the kid? You know, usually on Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., they're at school.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I guess that's the biggest challenge, I would assume, just having a normal schedule.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's tough.
So, it's really tough, but we'll be back next week. We have no idea who the guest is. We could probably pull in Nick Newell. Nick Newell was, we announced he wasn't able to make it the other week, but he did have a healthy baby, and so shout out to Nick. And so we'll have him on the show to congratulate him as well. But thank you for listening. I know we had some good numbers, and join us on Facebook. Like us on Facebook. Like us on YouTube. You'll get the updates on what we're doing and when we're going live. And Zeke, good seeing you, man.
You too.
All right.
See you
we'll
later.
See ya. Milford Radio.
Milford.
Later.
Here we are at Milford's very own Charles's Island. There's a lot of history on this island. It's been known as Cursed Thrice Island or Thrice Cursed Island, I don't remember. And there's also a lot of talk that Captain Kidd actually buried a treasure here on his way to Boston, where he was sent back to England and killed. The first thing I noticed were mussels when I got down to the bottom. Great thing about mussels is good visibility. Mussels are filter feeders, so they filter out all the yuck out of the water and they make it nice and clean, as you can see here. Just want to make sure the anchor's in nice and good. It's not even moving, so that's a good sign. First, we come across a sea star and a spider crab. And another sea star. And sea stars are the only animals that can open up a clam. And then there's this guy who's apparently had too much coffee this morning, or hasn't gone to the gym yet, or is apparently the fierce protector of Captain Kidd's treasure.